They wanna know if I'm a man or not. My mouth dropped when she came out the tanning spot. Her walk mean as green like shamrock. She loves shrimp fried rice and lamb chops. I'm from Plymouth Road, we send loads using centerfold. She just drove, she'll be home before her dinner cold. And back on the road when her dinner gone. Moving silence. Who wants the all-exclusive trip to Rikers Island? I'm on autopilot, cause this type of pressure create diamonds. These ain't your average thoughts. My memory bank contain a vault. I got 20 years in the trunk and 10 in the front. This the major league. It starts and ends with me like we spelling me. The shit that I do just to serve a fiend. My stories got stories. My stories got stories. It's levels to this. Fuck the world, I'll never get snipped. You lie about your bezel embellishing shit. To the metal, hit your mellow, cerebellum and shit. My city full of grime and grit. Everything we had to grind to get. Live our life to the fullest till it's time to split. The dams that stick. They used to flip a nigga off. Now they wanna suck a nigga dick when a nigga soft. I'm on your A-list. I'm on your B-list. And her playlist. Smoking that cloud. Stephen A. Smith.
Bruiser Brigade.
I root for everything in Detroit because I was hanging out there in the city the other day. I'm like, good Lord, it looked like a desert town. I'm rooting for them to be relevant. I'm just trying to understand. I'm like trying to understand why they got a damn football team. That's it. I mean, my God, could you get people out working and all the Ford Motor Company open your offices, do something, okay? Because it just looked like I was happy to see a traffic jam, and it only lasted one block. It comes down to Jared Goff, and I'm like, I'm just not sold.
Detroit makes the playoffs. We're gonna go out there. Detroit makes the playoffs. You gotta go out there. Not for the game.
You got a game coming up against the Detroit Lions squad that we see got a bunch of young thoroughbreds, got a coach that inspires them to play for him. And they went out there and I gave them major props because they had already missed out on the players because Seattle won the game.
They had nothing to play
for. They had nothing to play for, and they said, hell with that.
Except pride.
We going out.
Testing. Are we live? I'm assuming we are. Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be going over... Today we're finally going to be hitting up the second Occult stream. We're going to be hitting a topic that I didn't really think would actually win, but it turns out it did. We're going to be going over the Third Reich and how their direct connections to Nazism. Hello, Mr. Cross. How are you doing, Stanley? I'm going to make sure that I'm going to wait a little bit until we get a couple more people in, and I will be back in a moment. I'll be back in a moment. I'm good, Stanley. I'm good. I'm just having fun. Just having fun, sir.
They wanna know if I'm a man or not. My mouth dropped when she came out the tanning spot. Her walk mean as green like shamrock. She loves shrimp fried rice and lamb chops. I'm from Plymouth Road, we send loads using centerfold. She just drove, she'll be home before her dinner cold. And back on the road when her dinner gone. Moving silence. Who wants the all-exclusive trip to Rikers Island? I'm on autopilot, cause this type of pressure create diamonds. These ain't your average thoughts. My memory bank contain a vault. I got 20 years in the trunk and 10 in the front. This the major league. It starts and ends with me like we spelling me. The shit that I do just to serve a fiend. My stories got stories. My stories got stories. It's levels to this. Fuck the world, I'll never get snipped. You lie about your bezel embellishing shit. To the metal, hit your mellow, cerebellum and shit. My city full of grime and grit. Everything we had to grind to get. Live our life to the fullest till it's time to split. The dams that stick. They used to flip a nigga off. Now they wanna suck a nigga dick when a nigga soft. I'm on your A-list. I'm on your Bayless, Henner playlist. Smoking that cloud, Stephen A. Smith.
Bruiser Brigade.
I root for everything in Detroit because I was hanging out there in the city the other day. My good Lord, it looked like a desert town. I'm rooting for them to be relevant. I'm just trying to understand. I'm like trying to understand why they got a damn football team. That's it. I mean, my God, could you get people out working and all the Ford Motor Company open your offices, do something, okay? Because it just looked like I was happy to see a traffic jam, and it only lasted one block. It comes down to Jared Goff, and I'm like, I'm just not sold.
Detroit
I'm not
makes the
sold on
playoffs.
them.
We're gonna go out there. Detroit makes the playoffs. You gotta go out there. Not for the game.
You got a game coming up against the Detroit Lions squad that we see got a bunch of young thoroughbreds, got a coach that inspires them to play for him. And they went out there and I gave them major props because they had already missed out on the players because Seattle won the game.
They had nothing to play
They had
for.
nothing to play for, and they said, hell with that.
Except pride.
We going out.
All right, that's enough. Time to get on it. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over this. No, Stanley. This is not, it wasn't a Spike Lee score. I found that off of some YouTuber who started who started making his own music. So yeah, I kind of robbed him. There's a lot of stuff going on in the YouTube streets nowadays. First we're going to cover over the poll topic that I brought up earlier, and then we're going to try our best to, if I get any more people up here, well, I might just end it there once we go over the covering of the Nazi stuff. But if I get more people coming up in here, then I will probably go over the YouTube drama stuff. But I'll probably hit that on later. All right. Time to share this. All right, everything's working. All right, I'm going to drop the link again for everybody who wants to come up, just in case anyone wants to hit the panel and ask questions. All right, we're going to get started. So today we're going to be covering good old Nazi UFOs. Something that I didn't believe would actually win the poll, but it turns out it did. So basically, we're going to be covering the elements of the Third Reich. Basically, during the later half of World War II, a lot of Nazi scientists, names who I will be recovering later, and a couple names that I didn't expect to be on there, but apparently were on there, were actually going to be a part of the tried to create a space program, or a somewhat space program, in order to turn the tides of the war. This space program was going to combine typical German engineering as well as a little bit of American input, in addition to several forms of occult science, in order to create a new type of fighter. The NFO, the good old Nazi UFO. Now, a lot of people think that the Nazi UFO is a type of myth, but there are several instances of it not just being a myth, but also being somewhat real. Number one, in the final years of World War II, deep hidden laboratories and bunkers were made in Germany and on German soil to help change the fate of the war overall. Basically, the Nazis were, or the Germans were planning on creating a new form of spacecraft in order to not only turn the tides of the war, but also to further humanity's overall progress. And by humanity, they meant white people, because this was not just a project in order to, flex and try to win the war, but this was also a racial superiority statement, showing that, hey, we can build these magical crafts and no one else can't, because the do it for the mighty Aryan race and all that. At the same time, a bunch of allies, aka the pilots, reported to encounter global orbs, glowing orbs that danced among a bunch of fighters, evading attacks in straight lines, tampering with electronics, and were also jamming various radio signals during the fight. After the war, America tried to launch its own program called Operation Paperclip, which tried to siphon a bunch of other Nazi soldiers so that they could start their own UFO space program. This didn't really come to fruition, however, due to the simple fact that a lot of secret societies, one called the Vril Society, and a bunch of other Nazi societies kind of disappeared into the ether, along with some of their research. Even though America was able to get some of the research after the negotiations during World War II, a lot of it was actually lost. Some people think that this research is still going on to this day, but others think that it isn't. It's kind of a highly debated topic. Even even more unsettling news is that the legends of these high-ranking Nazi officers who fled to South America were carrying several blueprints, or some people think even working prototypes of these Nazi crafts. Others thinks that this stuff is fake and that they only fled to South America in order to avoid persecution. But others believe that the project was recontinued within South America and that they're still doing it to this day. Some people think it's about some people think that this is going on by the even think that stuff like this is going on by the United States Air Force, while others think that this isn't really it isn't really going on at all. It's kind of a highly debated topic or not. A lot of historical context. Apparently, World War II, like similar to all wars, wasn't just a normal war about, technologies and a bunch of them warring together, but it was mainly about advancing. It was mainly a technological arms race, just like most wars are. They tried to do this by creating the most advanced, each side trying to create more and more advanced weaponry ever, specifically jet fighters and other planes, rockets, and missiles were also going to be shown in order to, excuse me, also going to be shown in order to through the skies, as well as several forms of space weaponry that will also be covered later. Some of the scientists, such as a scientist known as Victor Schrockenberger, so a German name, it's kind of hard to tell, Schrockenberger, and Rudolf Strever worked on these special vortexes known as flying disc. These flying discs were disc were using special propellers and special magnets in order to achieve elevation without any form of centrifugal force, meaning they did not need to go on runways in order to gain lift. Basically, they can just sit there right in the middle of right in the middle of the plot and just go straight up using specialized magnets. Basically, they were trying to design a specialized anti-gravity design, and others have reported witnessing strange crafts that were later named Foo Fighters, FOO fighters, which were known as buzzing allied crafts rumored to spread secret saucers flying all over Germany and designing eerie matched spacecrafts and other types of UFO sightings. As the Reich collapsed, the Allies raced to capture these secrets through a thing, like I covered earlier, Operation Paperclip. Even though thousands of German scientists were quietly brought to America, men like Warner and like a bunch of Warner von Braun, who built Hitler's rocket program, now worked for the U.S. He apparently according to extra papers, he apparently worked for the apparently there were some rumors about him entering into the U.S. Air Force in order to develop certain fighter pilots, but I could not confirm whether or not any of that was true. And Also, in the years following, the skies over America were filled with mysterious saucers. A lot of people think that the U.S. sightings in America were actually a continuation of this project, but other people believe that they are completely separate UFO sightings that are actually from actual aliens. I don't know which is which. I don't think anyone really knows which is which, and a lot of people are just, complaining. Maybe the government knows. Who knows? It doesn't. I don't really think it matters. I don't really think it matters. Now we're gonna get into some actual quiet. We're gonna get into a couple of pseudoscience and a little bit of some of the actual crafts. Apparently, like I said, like I don't know if you guys were here earlier, but like I said earlier, the one of the main reasons why the Nazis decided to develop spacecrafts in the first place wasn't just for the war and for advancement of technology. It was because it was a giant racial superiority flex that they were trying to do on the entire world. And in order, a lot of German Nazi scientists, German race science, and a bunch of occult scientists were colliding in order to obsess in proving Aryan superiority. White man better than everybody else. That they created specialized crafts. Two of them called the SS Inebre, and one of them were trying to twist history in order to fit this myth. They tried to also create a secondary form of science known as Vril technology or Thule technology, which had the ability to channel the visions of alien worlds and special powers all the way up into specialized blueprints so that they can make these various saucers. Now, if you guys see at the bottom camera right here, you could see all the various designs that were given to the Nazis in dreams. They were given to them in dreams. Some of them are called the Vril prototypes. Some of them called others, specifically this big one, actually taking the Persians. True name is Indo-Aryan. Vanta, hey, Vanta, get up here. I wanna ask you a couple questions. Today's gonna be a long day anyway, so you might as well get on the panel now. As I keep going, there was a couple projects that were literally beamed into the white man's mind. They were called a lot of them called the Die Glocke or the Die Glocke, which was a bell-shaped disc. Well, there will be pictures of that later. A specialized bell-shaped disc called the Die Glocke that was literally beamed into their minds. A specialized bell-shaped disc that was meant to use anti-gravity waves inside of it so that it could project itself to floating above the ground. There were also specialized rockets that pioneered the help with a lot of these crafts. If you could see the picture at the top, I wish I could zoom in a bit, but I kind of can't. Oh, my bad. I kind of can't. You can see how up here is a specialized seat for where the pilot was going to sit. We have a special thing called a position emitter and a waveguard. Apparently, this thing is supposed to emit specialized waves that helps the disc float, but it actually kind of looks like a giant stripper pole to me. And I don't even know why. They have the upper deck, which is a specialized part where people can go in and out. They have the anti-gravity emitters right here. These are meant to lift off and steer the ship. And they have these things called these specialized rings, which are also meant to help the ship go into higher orbits. Next, we have an expansion on what we talked about earlier: the racial superiority and the inebriae. Basically, in Germany, the quest for racial supremacy was overall a powerful tool for what they called the inebriae, a special secret organization that was created by Heinrich Himmler. Its mission was pretty clear: that they wanted to prove that the Germans were the descendants of a specialized Aryan race, and they wanted to prove that their true inventive potential could be cleared out by creating specialized ground to air to space crafts that they got through specialized visions from their Aryan overlords. Next, we also have specialized research, and that they tried to feed into Hitler's overall racial myths about the Holocaust and things of that in Europe. And they believed that it was okay to get rid of the Jews and flex on them by basically creating these crafts. There were also several other types of machines that were covered by the Third Reich that were also have specialized occult symbols on them, such as the Nazi symbol, which is actually supposed to be a symbol for peace, ironically enough. Also, apparently, the Nazis also tried to develop a specialized fuel for them. I think I covered it earlier, basically called vril, which is a form of which is a form of weird psychic energy that they would use that would come from their minds in order to power these ships into extra orbit, which is just space. Basically, they were trying to shoot this stuff into space. So, to all you flat earthers out there, I really hope that some of the Nazis were kind of torn on it. Some of them said they tried to advance into inner Earth, while others said that they wanted to advance into outer space. So I don't really know which one is correct because they keep, getting torn on whether or not they wanted to go up or down, go good old up and down. There were also various secret societies that would, like I said earlier, a lot of this project was funded by various secret societies who wanted to prove whether or not any of this stuff was possible. Basically, in 1934, they allegedly created a ship called the Vril 1. The Vril 1 was a weird shaped craft. Hold on. I think I showed it earlier. The Vril 1. The Vril 1 was this, as you can see, I'm circling right here, this tiny one, this really tiny ship that looked like it can only be piloted by like one guy. And basically, when they created the Vril 1, they decided to launch this over Germany in, I believe, like it said, 1934. And apparently, it exploded on itself, from what I researched. It didn't really lift off, at least according to the papers that I have. I did find some documents online that I am willing to show earlier if I can get them back up. That apparently it didn't really last long, and it kind of just flew into the air and then blew up. So, So I guess, good for them. They're making progress anyway. And apparently they tried to create a secondary power source known as the Black Sun. The Black Sun was linked to a specialized ancient energy called Chi, or the mystic fifth element, a force that was believed to create a very superhuman race. Something that Nikola Tesla, because apparently Nikola Tesla was very interested in all this, loved to research because he thought it was a good way to force, it would help develop his research when it came to researching energy. Over time, within their quest for dominance, they created the Germans tried creating these flying saucer special super weapons and used the technology that was provided by BMW. BMW, yes, that's right, the car company, in order as a front to help develop this technology for the future. The swastika, which is a specialized symbol for occult scientists, was reimagined in this dark mission, and to make sure that that centralized bell would be given special properties via its power in order to get, oh my god, doing research of this was hilarious. Basically, the swastika was supposed to be giving it special properties so that it could fly faster, fly higher, fly better, do all this extra stuff, and it didn't really turn out all too well. It didn't really turn out all too well. All right, now we're going to get into the real society. This right here is also another diagram that I was able to find. Basically, it's supposed to show the inside of another flying saucer. I don't remember which flying saucer this is, but I believe it says the Augustus Zanungen. I can't read German, as you can see. All right, the Vril Society was one of the mysterious groups that Nazi Germany helped that funded the Nazi project. They were said that they were supposed to be backed by Hitler itself. They mainly did this in order to channel messages to a specific alien race through all the way up into the Inebrian system, which I believe is a galaxy. I said it. I don't think I said this earlier, but it's supposed to be a galaxy, I believe. And obviously, it was supposed to be a forgotten civilization beneath the earth, or perhaps it was a forgotten civilization beneath the earth. No one really knows which one. It could be under the earth or be in the sky. The Germans didn't know this. No one really knows this. Apparently, they also tried to create some things called a cosmic antenna or whatever that is. Fuck that is, which is supposed to be unlocking ancient technologies and all this stuff. Also, Hitler had since Hitler had a huge obsession with the cult, he poured a bunch of research and money into this. Money that he could have been used to getting more oil in order to win the war. But instead of doing that, he decided to research it into specialized symbols and shapes and shit in order to develop these flying saucers. Oh, okay, Vanta, I see you. I see you. apparently the Nazis developed a good chunk of their resources under this and tried to create a bunch of powerful stuff. But apparently, under the veil of secrecy, the good old trying to keep everything sorted out, the Nazis didn't really get any of this stuff worked out because apparently, outside of various rumors and blurry images, there's no real proof that any of this workout actually bear fruit. And we all know what happened during World War II. The Nazis didn't really come out on top. So we're going to keep going here. We're going to be going into the Thule Society. The Thule Society was also another secret organization that was used to fuel the Nazis' designs. And as you can see here on my right here, I have other two design ships known as the Hannibal number 2 and the Hannibal number 3. Basically, they were secondary advanced ships that didn't explode on themselves and actually decided to, maintain up in the air, surprisingly or not. The Thule Society was another one who tried to research more into the vision aspect of occultism, and a lot of them ended up going into various excuse me, a lot of them ended up going into various seeing. Apparently, they tried to mainly focus on developing seers, basically people who would get paid to go to sleep and also see various visions and to make sure that they were able to get the blueprints for a lot of these spacecrafts. So apparently the Germans weren't developing this stuff themselves. They were just getting all this stuff by the power of like seers or dreams. They were probably taking a stupid amount of drugs while they were doing it as well. But unlike the Real Society, which sought to contact beings, a bunch of stars, this group looked to the Earth. Basically, these guys believed more in inner Earth than according to the Real Society, even though the Real Society believed it more into space and the stars, while the Thule Society apparently were a bunch of flat earthers who believe that they can get it from Hollow Earth or whatever. What up, Vanta? Hello? Hello? Vanta, are you there? I guess your mic is busted. I'll keep going. Just talk whenever you feel like it. It doesn't matter to me. All right, we're gonna be getting to the other more details into the disc. Basically, the Hansenburg or the Honnebu spacecraft. I'm assuming that's what it's called. Apparently, the Honnebu was basically a specialized German ship that was secretly developing was a secret German ship that was supposed to use the power of magnetism in order to swirl up into the sky, and without any form of landing gear or any form of wind. As you can see, it's kind of right here. Another series of the ship, also known as the RFC series. This is, I believe, the RFC 2. I think it's the RFC 2. C2. But apparently, stories tell that the Society was building a special anti gravity craft. The Vril 1 was one of them, but they also made way more than just the Vril 1. But apparently, a engineer known as Victor Schrockenberg and Rudolf Schreider, and as well as another one named as Richard Mellith. God, I can't say these German names. Have said to design these crafts in order to power by magnetic forces, vortex propulsion, and even implosion technology to make sure that these things were able to lift off without any repercussions. Oh, okay, Vanta left. All right then. Meanwhile, Allied pilots were reporting mysterious crafts that were flying in the sky. They called these specialized orbs the Foo Fighters, like I said earlier. And apparently, they were going around dodging shit and going around dodging ships. Now we're going to be able to meet we're actually going to meet some of the Germans that were behind Kirk Dunk. You having a deja vu moment. Yeah, I am, Stanley. Yeah, I am. Anyway, we're going to be getting into some of these some of these important people, or these MVPs, if you will. Number one, we got Nikola Tesla, who was one of the head inventors of the overall project. He was the one who patented the overall flying saucer design. Now, we don't really know exactly if Nikola Tesla's design was originally his own, or if, as I said earlier, it was one of the mysterious vril seeings that they would see earlier. We don't know which one it was that or not. Basically, his design involved a specialized disc top and a removed bottom, so that it was be able to harness the power of some sort of mystic energy or something. And apparently, it had this thing called counter rotation, which was intended to build up electromagnetism at the bottom in order to lift it off. Next, we have this woman. I forgot her name. I think I lowered it down earlier, but basically, she was just some white woman who was the medium. Her name is Maria Oh, my bad. Her name was Maria Orsic. And apparently, she was some sort of weird spirit medium who had the ability to see into the other side, quote unquote. She had the ability to channel information that was from the other from the great beyond, or the great seers or whatever, through this method called the Tartarus tube. And next we have the two other inventors / scientists, which is Victor Skurbacher. No, Vance, I'm not on John's stream. He's not even live. It's either you talk about me or Stanley, because John's not even live right now. I've kind of been doing this on my own. Victor Skurbacher was the inventor who produced the various models. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Who used the various who was helped to improve on Nikola Tesla's original model, which is where all those other variants that I showed earlier came from. Basically, he reported directly to Hitler in order to discuss the levitations without burning any type of fuel. He also made sure that the later inductions of the SS were put in the work in developing various flying saucer concepts that he himself would later improve on. One of them, called the Rasputin, also reportedly operating the Condola effect, or something to that regard, and an initial test model that said to have its own that had flown all the way up to the ceiling, which was pretty good. And next we have Rudolf Schriver, Scriver. God, I can't say these names. Which was another engineer who helped out with Victor. Mr. Rudolph over here was another engineer who helped design the circular aircraft, who helped design the circular aircraft, or the bell-shaped aircraft that I mentioned earlier, and had to try to improve on it by adding various forms of turning and blades. This topic is mad crazy. I know it's crazy. It's just, to be honest, this thing is kind of, there's not really much about this that I can discuss other than just straight up sharing the plans. Other than sharing the documents that I have, but I can't find them anywhere. I wish I can share this stuff directly. I'll see if I can pull them up later on. But basically, he tried to improve on this by trying to make it more like a top instead of a disc. But apparently according to him, his various all of his plans were stolen and burned down from his laboratory, so he didn't really get to improve on it. Next, we have, during World War II, aviation broke technological leaps. Apparently, we're going to be talking about before all of the Nazis decided to go more into their German aircrafts. They decided to go more into their basic military jets. Apparently, during Germany, they created the 262 fighters and the V2 rockets, which were specialized rockets. These specialized rockets were meant to be much more destructive than any of their previous stuff. Apparently, they were known to level entire city blocks, and special German engineers like Werner von Braun and Hans Bim pioneered these specialized cruise missiles as well as ballistic missiles, laying all the foundations for Cold War weaponry as well as space exploration. Occultist. Apparently, the Third Reich produced a specialized program called Wonder Weapons, which were basically trying to do their best to, bleed into cutting-edge science and ambition. Also, beyond this whole official project, the flying disc project and the special propulsion systems were supposed to help with a lot of the saucer-shaped craft that they were developing later on. Basically, they were going to use the rockets or the technology from the rockets to help their further propulsion, and then they would focus more on the electromagnetic propulsion that I talked about earlier. The Vril Society allegedly wanted to channel this alien knowledge and to build these anti-gravity machines. While BMW, the construction company, I mean, not the construction company, the car company, I'm sorry, was rumored to be involved with their construction directly, which is pretty interesting. World War II, cosine. All right, so basically, a lot now, like I said earlier, all of this stuff is basically there's a huge debate on whether or not any of this stuff is actually real. We know for a fact that the Nazis were heavy into like magic and stuff like that because they thought that would help them win the war. But a lot of the technologies that we were covering earlier have not been directly proven, even though there have been various reports and other types of research on them directly. But a lot of this stuff believes that there are no direct evidence that support any of the claims that any of this technology was actually, developed outside of the planning stage and outside of the, putting the ideas to paper. We also know that there isn't a single, we don't have a single source of physical evidence, such as any of the saucer parts being built. We don't have any real life designs of it, any of that's being made physically outside of, the various papers. And some researchers argue that the UFOs, the stuff that are directly sided with aliens, are just, human made crafts, number one. So we believe that apparently the Nazis aren't even developing any of that stuff. There's also some rumors, or some people say that the U.S. Air Force and the CIA were the ones actively encouraging were the ones who were showing the alien narrative in order to hide the fact that they were developing it in the first place. Apparently, a lot of things similar to the various bomber planes that America was developing and have developed over the years were actually an extension of this same Nazi technology. But we all know, but a lot of this stuff is just rumors, of course. Nobody really knows whether or not this stuff is real. Apparently, we also know that a lot of the plans for certain aircrafts were also inconsistent. For example, the Vril 1, the first tiny aircraft that I talked about earlier, was also supposed to be propelled, or apparently originally supposed to be used by using specialized rockets in order to lift itself up, while others say that it was supposed to use electromagnetism in order to lift itself up. These inconsistencies in the overall plans are also used to scrutinize the entire existence of the project as a whole. We also have a lot of conspiracies and obviously, like I said, when it comes to internet culture, a lot of people take this stuff up to the extreme. And we know for a fact that German scientists we know for a fact that there was an operation known as Operation Paperclip, basically a secret U.S. operation in order to try to get as much of this data as possible. We don't know whether or not this was real or not, but we are going to probably see whether or not any of this stuff gets popularized. Basically, a lot of mass media took this up as inspiration for the whole alien phenomena. Various stories and various books were made off the whole alien phenomenon. We know how popular science fiction got, and we know how popular science fantasy is now with stuff like Star Wars and all that stuff, which was helped popularized by a lot of this phenomenon because before World War II, science was really brought into the modern age. Science was really brought into the modern age. At least science fiction and stories related to it were brought into the modern age due to this. And we know for a fact that Nazi UFOs theories may persist, that a lot of this stuff is about basically going to be going all throughout the time. And the conclusion for the overall racist than Nazis. Stanley, my Somalis are more racist than the Nazis. I don't know, Vanta. That would be. I don't know if that's true, Vanta. Well, the Nazis weren't all that racist to begin with, other than them killing a bunch of Jews. But most Somalis are Muslims, and they're pretty racist themselves. So you might have a point. All right. In conclusion, during the final years of the war, in the developing of final saucers, apparently the various advanced aircrafts were after the war, after a lot of German scientists moved to South America as well as going to America in order to develop this stuff. We don't know whether or not any of the specialized tech that we've seen here is directly covered by Nazi scientists were actually considered to be real or anything or not. A lot of people, like I said earlier, a lot of the sleek stealth designs that America has been creating and building up toward this whole time were actually developed by the Nazis themselves. And also potentially developed by the Nazis themselves, and was just an extension of that. We also don't know whether or not the whole not South America, the whole Antarctica conspiracy theory and how that's covered directly by and has something to do with either the inner Earth or the Nazis themselves. We don't know whether or not that the scientific flying saucer experiments are actually considered to be continuation in Antarctica, nor do we know whether or not that the overall designs from the sea, as well as the designs that were developed, could also be developed by the CIA. Also, speaking of the CIA, other intelligence agencies similar to the CIA were burying a lot of and keeping it vague, keeping the myth vague, and burying a lot of the knowledge that was in it. Most reports of military programs did describe seeing various disc-shaped crafts, but instead of having aliens, they believed that it had a form of human ingenuity that was operating in the shadows. But in the end, the overall Nazi UFO theory is a weird mixture of mystery and some occultism in the mix of it. Now, we're going to get on to some fun facts. Basically, while I was doing research, I found a bunch of weird, very strange things that I found out about. But hold on a minute. All right, I'm back. All right, Vanta. How odd were all the flat Earth defenders and the white supremacists? Honestly, I don't know. I just sent the link out that I'm live. Those people are probably going to be swarming in right about now. I've been live for a minute. I should have sent this link out first, but I decided not to. I want to see if people would come naturally. Apparently, they don't. It's all good though. I believe that not many. Honestly, there's not many flat Earth defenders actually out there. Other than Low, I guess. There might be a couple more around this parts, but I don't really know too many themselves. The white supremacists, on the other hand, I don't know where the heck they at. They never come around. They never come around black people's spaces. Excuse me. Nonetheless, like, I don't know, Stanley's here or something. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if Stanley was on the panel, the white supremacist would come up. Stanley seems to get a lot of people up here on his own. But let's read out some of these fun facts. All right, one of the fun facts, apparently, during the supposed manufacturing project of a lot of the vril development scientists, a lot of contractors were called special alien civilian employees and were working in a war department that gave them the salaries of $20 to $11 per day. This was directly paid to their banks or to their families. I mean, not the ranging from $2 to $11 per day. That is okay. That's not too bad. $11 a day. That's almost $11 a day. That's pretty good. Beyond the old UFO stuff, a lot of the secret developments were apparently developing. Apparently, a lot of these developments were not mentioned officially to the rest of the Nazi Party, and was actually kept a secret towards other members of the Third Reich. Excuse me. Apparently, other weapons were also developed, known as a thing called a death ray, a sun cannon, a Pandora's box, and something known as the Helios bag. I don't even know what any of these weapons are, but that sun cannon thing I did look up, and apparently it's supposed to be a giant solar panel that is capable of reflecting rays of radiation towards towards large crowds in order to basically give them cancer. So it's basically a cancer beam. That's what it is. Apparently another thing is that some sort of young secretary involved with some of these projects were annoyed by the overall close-mindedness of the experts, remembering that they were considered very arrogant and impossible to work with. Another man known as Admiral Byrd or Admiral Bride was asked when he was recommendedly established the armed observation camps. During the poll, replied, "Because the pole lies between us and our enemies." I thought that was kind of funny. Apparently, the Model 3 prototype of the flying saucer were reportedly produced in various sizes. Some were up to 135 feet long, while others were around 225 feet long. Hello?
Mic check. Can you hear me, Gary? Hello, hello. 1 2 1 2. Nothing. Still. Son of a. God, I hate this. I hate this so much.
Vanta, could you turn your volume up?
Mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hang on.
I can hear you, but I can barely hear you.
Sorry, my volume a little bit. Hang on.
I got your audio all the way up.
Yeah, it's my end. It's my end. I don't know.
Yeah, something's up with your mic, sir. What browser are you using?
Brave. Brave. I hope you heard that. Brave.
Okay. Turn. Excuse us, everybody. Vanta's having the most tech issues right now.
Don't mind me. I'll go back. I'll head back. I'll go back.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
I'm about to end. To be fair, I'm about to wrap this up anyway. I think we've been here for a little bit long enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. God damn it, man.
Oh no, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Garen, do your thing. Do your thing. I'll be in the chat. I'll be in the chat.
All right, all right. You can just come up whenever you think your mic is working again.
All right, cool, bro. Cool, cool, cool.
All right, another concept that I found about while researching this was apparently they wanted to try to develop force field technology, basically stuff that could bend space around you in order to protect you. And they specifically use this heart. They use a specific heart that can generate a magnet field. Apparently, this stuff was supposed to be linked to various Nordic mythology and the concept of real energy by the area that was created by the Aryans in order to helped them develop specialized shields for these crafts. And the term food fighter was originally used by the Allied pilots during World War II to describe mysterious aerial phenomenon and initiate attributes that are specific types of UFO reported by the U.S. 415th Night Fighter Squadron. All right. Well, since nobody's able to come up, and since Vanta himself isn't able to come up, I guess we're gonna have to just. I guess we're just gonna have to end it here today. I didn't expect this stream to be so short, honestly, and I didn't expect anyone to. To be fair, I did expect a couple other people to come up, but since everybody's pretty busy, maybe because it's Sunday, maybe just don't stream on Sundays anymore. At least that's a notice to me. Just don't stream on Sundays anymore. I'm gonna have to end it here, everybody. I will try to make these streams more on Friday because I think Friday is a much better time, and I didn't expect any of this stuff to actually, go the way it went. Thank you, Vanta, for trying to come up. I appreciate it, and thanks for all the people who watch this video. The stream's kind of bland, so if this one gets skipped, I don't blame it. I'll probably go over it in another stream if people ask for it. All right, I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.